Hello, I'm delighted today to be interviewing Barb Stevens, who I've known since about 1994. I wouldn't consider you one of the pioneers of the nuclear industry, but you've had a great breadth of exposure to the nuclear industry, both in Britain, France, and in Canada. And I'm really pleased to be able to chat with you today. So,
well, thank you, Morgan. I'm glad to be here. Actually, I've known you longer than since 1994 because we were both in Pinawa together.
That's what you left in 94.
And we left in 94, but we
right.
went to Pinawa in 1985. So
yes, and we were there in 89.
Even longer
yes,
than that.
That's right. That's right, of course.
Yes.
I was forgetting that. And when you left Pinawa, I remember you coming to our house and giving us some of your boys' cast-off toys, which were then our boys had.
Yes, that's right. Some bicycles, I remember.
Yes, that's right.
I'm glad they were useful.
Yeah. So we'll have to talk a little bit more about Whiteshell because
right.
We typically we haven't had interviews discussing Whiteshell much. So let's go back to the beginning of your career. You tell me about your early life and then how you got into the nuclear business.
Okay. Well, I'm from the UK. I was born in Weymouth. It's a nice coastal resort. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I went to Weymouth Grammar School and it was a lovely life there. I studied languages and then I decided I wanted to travel. Mm-hmm. So I achieved a bilingual secretarial diploma in French and English with the view to starting work on the continent.
Yes. Yeah.
And I particularly liked France, so that was my goal. But anyway, close to Weymouth, there was a nuclear site called Winfrith, Atomic Energy Establishment Winfrith, run by the United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority. And I applied for a job there. And I eventually became the private secretary to the director of the establishment for about almost 7 years. So that was a very, very interesting place. I learned quite a lot of general information about the nuclear industry. I even had dealings with some of the people that worked at Chalk River because one of the reactors that they were investigating was the SGHWR, Steam Generating Heavy Water Reactor.
Yes, okay.
And that was the only heavy water reactor that the UKAEA had ever looked into. And obviously they had dealings with Canada, and especially with the NRU NRX reactors for testing of components and fuel and materials, etc. So a lot of the people that worked on the SGHWR had already worked here in Chalk River. So I knew quite a few people. That was my first contact with Chalk River Labs. So I enjoyed very much that job at Winfrith. And when I decided to move on, I had already learned about one of the Nuclear Energy Agency projects that was run by the OECD, Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development in Paris, France. And that was the high temperature gas cooled reactor project, which ran for about 10 years on the Winfrith site. And so having learned to work in French, I decided I would apply to the OECD. And I got a job in the Nuclear Energy Agency in Paris. And that was a lovely job too. I worked with both the directors of the Nuclear Safety Division and the members of that division and the Nuclear Waste Division. And Michael, my husband, or my husband-to-be...
Your husband-to-be, yeah.
worked in that division also. So I enjoyed that job. I did a lot of helping with organising meetings that were held at the OECD's head office at Château de la Muette. So I met lots of people from the nuclear industry all around the world. My job was to assist the directors of those divisions and to prepare minutes of meetings and publications from those meetings.
I'm surprised in some ways, but I guess it makes sense. You studied in secretarial college or whatever.
Yes.
You're reading your notes and everything. You have a comprehensive knowledge of nuclear matters, and I mean, you were exposed to it all those years, but you evidently absorbed the information and sort of could, work with it. It wasn't just that you were taking notes and transcribing it. You've evidently become educated in the nuclear world and all this.
I have a good general knowledge.
Yeah.
Nothing specialised, but a good general knowledge. And it was that was useful when I moved to Pinawa with my husband then. And I was asked if I would be interested in taking tours of the Whiteshell plant and the underground research laboratory which was associated with it.
Yeah.
So yes, I really, really enjoy science. It was very innovative then after the Second World War.
Yes.
And obviously today it's even more important because we need power so much. It was nice to work in science with so many educated and interesting people.
Yes.
That's what I enjoyed.
But by the way, you were saying who you worked for. The director at AEEW, who was that?
That was Mr. Harry Cartwright.
Okay.
He had moved from Risley, Warrington, in the north of England, where he had been director of fast reactors for many years, and he was on the management of the UKAEA. So he was the sole director there at the plant. Very interesting gentleman. He was OBE and CBE, etc. He had done work in radar during the war.
Oh, yes.
And his family were very nice, so I had a lot of dealings with his family as well. And it was very, very interesting working with all the different divisions at that site too.
Yeah, it was a sort of that whole period reflected at Chalk River and Whiteshell too, just absolutely gung-ho, forward-moving, taking on big projects, pursuing them, and then perhaps coming to the end of them and say, oh, well, that didn't really work. Okay, next big project. And just seemed to move from this to that and whatever, doing all sorts of tremendous leaps forward.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the Winfrith site in particular was a showcase for all types of research reactors. Developing R&D for future reactors, and the SGHWR ran for 22 years, and it provided electricity to the national grid. But the government decided not to pursue that particular type of reactor in the end, and so the site was eventually shut down in the 1990s. And the same kind of thing has happened with Whiteshell Laboratories as well, in that they decided not to pursue any more R&D at that site on for CANDU reactor development, etc., nor for the high-level waste management programme, which was run in conjunction with the Underground Research Laboratory. So it's funny that it's interesting, rather, that the site of Winfrith sort of ran for about the same time as Chalk River Laboratories, although that was begun a little bit earlier in the 1940s rather than the 1950s. And it's interesting that the Chalk River Laboratories has taken the lead now in pursuing more related nuclear developments. So it was like going from three homes, from Winfrith, to Manitoba, to Whiteshell, and to Chalk River Labs. And in between all that, it was very interesting working at the Nuclear Energy Agency because I met people from all over the world. That was essentially a forum for sharing important R&D information on reactor development. So that was very, very interesting with all their member countries and so on. And that gave me a look at the whole world.
Yes, yeah. Of course,
of nuclear.
The NEA is still very active now. The Whites, Andrew and Leslie, were over there for several years. So yeah, no, it's you've touched on a lot of interesting places. One thing perhaps. Well, Paris is part of the story, but I was intrigued to see that you've lived in essentially 3 nuclear communities.
Yes.
Paris doesn't really count because, of course, it's a big cosmopolitan city. But you lived in near Winfrith. I forget the name of the village there.
Winfrith Newborough.
Yes. And then you moved to Pinawa, the bedroom community for Whiteshell Labs.
Yes.
And then you moved here to Deep River, the bedroom community for Chalk River Labs. How do they compare those small communities that grew essentially just for they've evolved since then? Say Deep River, there's lots more military people here, for instance, now from Petawawa. But originally they were just for the nuclear sites. What's it been like being able to compare the 3 small villages? And
very interesting, actually. Pinawa was a beautiful place. It was a nice move. People often said to me, "Oh my, you moved from Paris, France to Pinawa.
Yeah.
What on earth were you doing?"
Yeah.
Well, it was a good move at that time in my life because I had 2 young children and it was
including the one behind the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi there. Hi, Alex. And it was a better place to live with young children rather than in a very busy city. And I enjoyed the ambiance there. It was a close-knit, enjoyable community. There were plenty of recreational things to do. Although we were remote and right out at the end of the road in the bush, so to speak, we had everything we needed as far as supplies were concerned. There were a lot of home businesses and we had everything we needed. It was delightful. It was a very nice time for us there. We were there for 9 years. Deep River, well, that was a little bit different. It's close to Ottawa, which was useful. We have relatives in southern Ontario, or had at that time. So that was useful to sort of commute to them now and then. I found my impression when I came to Chalk River was, oh my goodness, it's so compact and crowded with all the laboratories in one small area. Whereas in Pinawa, the buildings were relatively new, spread out nicely. That was more leisurely and modern. But of course, the Chalk River site is older. It has a lot more history and it had a lot of older buildings, but very, very interesting with the beginnings of the nuclear industry and all the history that is there.
Yeah, okay.
A nice community, as I mentioned, close to Ottawa, etc.
Yeah. Pembroke
and Petawawa, the base. It's all very nice on the banks of the river here. So it was very different from moving from a cosmopolitan city such as Paris, but that was a very nice move for that time of my life, and we enjoyed very much travelling in Europe, etc.
Yes.
Of course, here it's different. It's a long way to travel anywhere, but we made the most of what we had in each place.
Yeah.
So all nice places, and of course having people from the nuclear industry, very interesting people, very knowledgeable people, people with lots of pastimes and so on, and the kind of people that are nice to have as neighbours.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
so
yeah,
very
yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
No.
I've appreciated moving around, actually. It is quite an experience. Yes.
Yeah, we had 12 years in Pinawa and then moved here, and we have enjoyed both places, both great for raising our boys. So, yeah. Now, as I mentioned, we haven't talked a lot, or there's not as much known about Whiteshell Laboratories. We hear a lot about the Chalk River Laboratories. Can you give us a little bit of a tour of things you would, that were the facilities and things that were happening there? We've briefly mentioned, the reactor that was built out there, but could you tell me a bit more about that, for instance, why it was in the first place, why it was built?
Yes, certainly. The government decided to build another nuclear site. That was back in the late 50s, early 60s. Because Chalk River was getting rather full and crowded, and they thought it would be a good idea to give another province a chance to have something like that. The site was built in the late 50s, early 60s, and its purpose was to research nuclear matters and reactors for the CANDU R&D programme. So the first thing, I think, the first facility that was built was the Whiteshell Reactor Number 1, which was an oil-cooled, heavy water moderated reactor. And a lot of research was done on that as a possible other means of other type of reactor to build for CANDU. They decided in the end not to do that. But nevertheless, it provided great support for the R&D that was required in the whole of the CANDU programme. There was also a slowpoke reactor that provided a lot of R&D too. And there were thermal hydraulics facilities to support that side of the CANDU R&D, and a lot of waste management R&D too. In particular, methods of storing interim storage of used fuel for the waste from the WR1 reactor. There was a lot of R&D on safety of CANDU reactors, and in particular combustion and hydrogen related problems.
Ones which we saw arise actually with Fukushima.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, so that was extremely important. Lovely chemistry labs, etc., and research into environmental safety and assessment for the nuclear fuel, high-level nuclear fuel waste management programme. So that was the underground research done for the possibility of a repository for the high-level fuel. There was a lot more programs, environmental programs into effects of radiation on biological matter and the environment. There was an ion beam accelerator, and that was researching other uses of irradiation, such as irradiation of food for destruction of bacteria and preservation,
Right.
and irradiation of certain materials for strengthening, etc. And I remember that they irradiated golf balls, and that was sort of a promotion thing, so that the golfing community had a try, and some of the professionals actually tried out the irradiated golf balls, and they actually did bounce further. And that was because of the molecular change by the ion beam rendering the material more resilient.
Yes, we have a couple of those golf balls in our collection here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah. I figure it would be a waste on me. I just hit it farther into the bush.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and food irradiation was quite an important thing because of the amount of food that's wasted in the world. If it could be irradiated so that it would last longer, that would provide more food for people who really needed it. So we used to give out irradiated cookies to people in the public affairs area where I worked. And so that got people interested in nuclear, etc. We had a lot of visitors to the site. I worked with public affairs for some time, giving tours. And there was an outreach program as well.
And these are tours for the public, not just visiting scientists?
No, not just visiting scientists, the public. A lot of school children used to come. We had a very nice room where we could show movies, and we had lots of bits and pieces on show, and talked about how reactors worked, etc. And there was a lot of really, really good publicity that could be handed out to children, fact sheets and little booklets and so on. So science teachers from around the area used to like to come and bring their science students to tour. They used to come from as far as Brandon in Manitoba, and a lot from Winnipeg, and local schools and so on. We did an outreach program as well where we visited schools and took the information to people. I went further afield once or twice to Quebec to shows where we set up a booth to explain nuclear and to spread the word on nuclear waste management and how to deal with it, etc. So it was quite an interesting job that I had there.
How did people react to it? Because waste management, often rings alarm bells for people. And how did you find it was when you actually talked face to face with people?
Well, it was something that people were perhaps a little bit afraid of, didn't understand. It needed a bit of explaining to sort of make them understand that it can be handled safely, that it's a clean method of producing electricity and for storing used irradiated materials, etc. I think people were quite delighted to get a lot of information. It was something that wasn't liberally broached elsewhere. And I think it did a lot of good. There were some people who could not listen to any explanation. They had it set in their minds that it was not a good thing, so that was a little bit more difficult. But the thing is, it's something that is, I think, quite needed, and I think people are beginning to realise that, what with climate change, etc., we can't do fossil fuels anymore. Nuclear is a good idea to provide power to us and so on. And of course all the other uses of radiation as well, such as the isotopes for hospitals, for chemo, etc. There's so many uses of irradiation, and I think people appreciate that. So that was well received.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, you've this work being both tour guide but also going outreach, whatever. Very much sort of front lines in some respects. That makes it sound like it's a battle. It's not really, but we, the scientists or the engineers and the technologists behind, we're sequestered in our laboratories. We get to do things. The only difficult times are presenting results to senior management or say a CANDU owners group. But you're dealing with the public.
Yes.
That was both worthwhile, but also I can imagine having a little experience. Sometimes it could be difficult, I'm sure, trying to present science in an approachable way, and also when as you said, people sometimes would have their sort of preconceived notions and
Yes.
they weren't going to let go of them.
It was very interesting. I enjoyed meeting people, especially young people. And scientists are always interesting to talk to, and the general public. It's nice to be able to put information out on something that they want to know something about. Dealing with difficult people, well, it was all right.
It came with the territory, I guess. Yeah.
It did come with it.
Yeah.
There weren't as many of those that I had to deal with, but there was a small number of people that had their minds set that this was not a good thing. But everybody's got their own opinion, but I did have some success with explaining to some people that nuclear was perhaps a very, very good option these days, and I enjoyed talking to them.
Yeah. Now, we don't see public affairs with tours anymore post the 9/11 world and things like this. What do you think is the importance of people visiting, because of course now we also have a lot of stuff online. You can go and look up anything you want.
Yes.
Is it still worthwhile to have people come and see things for themselves?
I think so, but obviously, there is a security problem in this day and age. You have to be careful who you let in. It's difficult. I think, though, instead of that, a lot more publicity could be done online or over the internet.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
That's one thing we like here is still being able to present, at the museum, people can come and photograph artifacts. They can stand next to it. They can touch it.
Yes, that's right. Yes, people like to actually see things.
Yeah.
I think this is a very good thing that you're doing.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well,
I think it's very nice.
Thanks to your husband, Michael, for getting the ball rolling with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and one thing you mentioned actually about Whiteshell, and that was the underground research laboratory.
Yes.
And its great significance to the planned deep geological disposal of used fuel. Tell us a bit about that, if you would.
Yes. Oh, well, I used to take tours down into the URL, and it had to be over a certain age. I think it was at least over 16. We didn't take big groups, obviously, because it was hard to manage. But a lot of visiting AECL people used to like to come and have a look. Visiting scientists, people from university, etc., studying such things used to like to come. So we would meet and greet. We had an auditorium where they could have a look at pictures and just have watch a film or be told some of the facts before we descended into the laboratory. So there were 2 levels. One at 225 metres and another one that was built a bit later at 444, I believe, something like that. But to go into the facility, the visitors used to have to wear a miner's hat with a light, a waterproof jacket and very good shoes or boots. And then we would descend in a cage to the appropriate level, and we could walk around all the little test areas. So there were tests being carried out there on mining techniques, solute transport, buffer materials for containers, and so on. And each area had its own little room with its tests in, and you could walk around and you could feel the coolness of the rock. And it was rather beautiful, actually, because of the colours in the rock. The geology there was quite interesting. And it was quite an experience. I didn't used to... think about being underground 444 metres too often, because rock, as you know, is very, very heavy.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, it used to make cracking noises.
Oh, yeah.
Where it would be settling out, and that could be very disconcerting sometimes. So I always used to warn the visitors that they might hear a little bit of cracking, not to worry. It was quite normal. The rock was just settling out, etc. But there was one day when it cracked and made such a booming noise that the visitors just ran and scarpered in every area. And I had to really reassure them that they were quite all right. Nothing would happen. This was normal. It was quite safe. So, there were a few experiences like that, but it was the most interesting place. It was an excellent representation for the concept for the disposal of high-level nuclear waste. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And all that information that they gathered there from all of those experiments was used to assess the safety and reliability, and it was in the end decided by ACL that was the way to go to dispose of the nuclear waste. And as a result of that, there were 10 great big volumes. It was called the Environmental Impact Statement that were produced by the company to support this technology. But that wrapped up in 1990, unfortunately, and the subject of high-level disposal is still an ongoing dilemma. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is still being decided at the moment.
I had the privilege of going down the URL a couple of times, and with accompanying visitors sometimes. It was great to go down. Really interesting. I remember seeing that the first level I thought was like a well lit, concrete floored basement. Really, with rock walls. But then you go down. We were only allowed to look out from the cage at the bottom level, and it looked much more like a mine down there.
It was more like a mine, yes.
Yeah.
And you had to have your light. There were lights there, but if the lights went out for some reason, you would need to use your miner's light.
Yes. Yeah.
No, it was interesting. It was a beautiful place.
Oh, it was. It was really a very interesting place to take people on tours. I remember, escorting people around the labs themselves, which was interesting enough. But the underground research lab was just this notch above, so to speak, or notch below.
It was.
Yeah,
oh, yes, absolutely. I used to enjoy going there. Yes. Yeah. And you could view all the rock samples that they took out above ground. The rock samples were.
That's right, and they also sometimes they gave away, I think, more to visiting scientists, sort of samples of, this water is somehow they figured out it was 10 or 100,000 years old or something like that. And
yes. Well, it was a wonderful place for testing all sorts of things like that, and for geologists, it was a marvel.
Yeah, I remember also there. I believe there was a tunnel which actually had, over time, had become sort of oval shaped and at an angle rather than sort of the straight circular, and it was due to the stresses in the rock.
And that's right. Yes, it settles itself out. Yes, yes, and people used to be fascinated that if they had to get out because they couldn't go through, take the cage on the way back. Yeah. They would have to climb a set of ladders all the way up to the top.
Oh, gee.
I never did that, but I never wanted to.
No, I'm sure not.
But, no, it was a fascinating place.
Yeah, I believe there's still maybe some experiments going on there because they've sealed it all up.
They have sealed it all up, yes.
But I think they're still measuring water infiltration. That's the last I heard.
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Now, another job you ended up doing, which I found quite interesting, is actually this being involved with
Oh, yes.
the production of this book, Canada Enters the Nuclear
Yes.
Age. We have copies available here at the museum.
I hope you have a lot.
we have quite a number, yes, yeah. McGill
Good.
Queen's Press.
Yes.
And, it's multiple chapters, and it's the story of the laboratories.
Yes.
And it's, I think there was it 16 authors?
16 main authors,
So,
but a
okay.
lot of people provided information.
Right. So that must have been like herding cats, if I know anything about scientists, trying to
I think
organize
it was, all things considered, it was very well done, yes. I entered this project when I was a tour guide here at Chalk River. We used to do other jobs besides touring people. And I was only involved for about a year or so. And that arose because the Director of Public Affairs, who handled this in the end, was afraid that it wouldn't be finished because he was leaving ACL and he wanted to make sure that it got finished. Now, that was in 1996 that I got involved, just for 1 year. And it was at the stage where most of it was finished, but there were still a few little chapters that needed to come. So I acted as liaison between all the authors and McGill University Press.
Oh, okay.
And I went to meet the McGill people, and I met all of the people that were producing the various chapters. It was called THAC, the THAC group. So it was Donald Hurst who
Yes.
first thought about producing this history book. And it was Jean Kreitoff that kind of brought it all together. And it was produced, it was started, I think, in 1986. That's where it was thought about.
Okay.
And it was eventually published in 1997. So I joined in 1996 and I handled the affairs with McGill so that it got printed. The frontispiece was designed by Doug Connolly here in town.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Doug Connolly, who I think he's done signs for us, actually, for the museum
Yes.
here. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So that was my part. It was quite small, but it was an important part to make sure that it got produced.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit jealous of you getting to meet all these illustrious nuclear pioneers from the very beginning of the labs, like you mentioned, Kreitoff and Hurst.
Yes.
Of course. I had met a couple of them. Archie.
Archie Robertson.
Robertson, yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant man who actually did a lot in terms of public relations work as well as being a scientist. I always figured, though, he was so smart that I wouldn't have liked to have my reports reviewed by him because he'd point out all sorts of holes.
They were very, very, very nice.
Yeah. Okay.
They were nice people to deal with. And they were getting older. And it was thought that we should hurry up and get this done before they disappeared and didn't finish the chapters.
Yeah.
And it was a good job that we produced it in 1997 because the year later, one or two of them started to disappear from the scene. So I think it's a valuable book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was done on a small budget. I had some of the illustrations redone, etc., but a lot of them were the original illustrations, and they're
Okay.
not very good, some of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there was a bit we couldn't go too far with the budget.
Yeah.
But I was glad to be involved in that because I met such interesting people.
Yes. Yes.
It was very, very nice to get to know them.
Well, it's definitely. I mean, I'm so pleased that it is produced in the first place as a history of the labs in those absolute vibrant, go-ahead try this, try that years from
Oh, yes.
1940s to
Yes.
to the 1980s, really.
Yes, yes. Oh, it must have been a very exciting time for those eminent scientists.
Yes, and you think it was the lure, so to speak, of the technical advances and things that you could do, the scientific laboratory, that kept people here when, especially in the early days of Deep River and also actually out at Pinawa, some of the early days there was a lot of mud and dirt, and it wasn't the most comfortable living conditions, and spouses, essentially wives, really having to live in conditions which weren't, they weren't nice urban conditions, which a lot of the scientists, the early ones, had come from cities, in urban settings and around the world, and they lived in the bush.
They did, but they've made a wonderful place.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And there are so many things to do here, so many interests. These scientific people enjoyed other things as well. Mm-hmm. And we're good at them, musical stuff, theatrical, sports. They have created a wonderful little environment for people to live in.
Yeah.
It's got beautiful nature. It has lots and lots of activities. It's wonderful for school children. There's a very nice high school here and other schools, and they've produced a wonderful little town.
I have a biased view on that, but I'd agree. In both Pinawa and Deep River.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Really, well, both of us have lived in both,
Yes.
And really got a great deal out of both of them. Again, lots of activities. This year, I think in Deep River, I think it's the Potters Guild are celebrating their 75th anniversary.
Yes.
Deep River Symphony Orchestra is it one of the oldest in Canada or whatever?
Yes, it is.
And it's also in it's the smallest community with a symphony orchestra. So things like that. That's great. One thing which we haven't discussed a lot, and that is if you'd like to talk a bit about your husband Michael and all his work. And
certainly I would.
you said you met in Paris at the OECD.
Yes, we did. Yes. So Michael was in Paris for about 11 years, and I was there for almost 7. So he preceded me going to Paris. He came from Toronto, and he did his bachelor's and at Waterloo.
It was
yes.
okay.
He did his bachelor's and at Waterloo, and then he went to McMaster for his PhD, and then he went to France on PhD fellowship.
Okay.
To the CNRS, the Centre National de Recherche Scientifique.
Okay.
And he was there for 2 years. And when he had finished that, he decided that he really liked Paris, France, and he wanted to stay longer. So he applied to the OECD, and he was taken on by the Nuclear Energy Agency.
And
Yes.
But then also into
In
waste
the-
management. area.
Yes, that was later. So he was taken on by the NEA in the Nuclear Safety Division. So he was secretary to international meetings on nuclear safety, and then he handled the Holden project for the NEA in Norway. That was a boiling water reactor experiment. When his stage finished at the OECD, he applied for a job here in Canada.
So
Yes.
he moved to Whiteshell and then was a manager out there of a few things. I
Yes,
noticed.
he accepted a job with AECL doing environmental and safety assessments for the high-level waste management nuclear program. So we moved to Pinawa in 1985, and we arrived at the airport with 2 young children, 2 cats in a box, and 4 suitcases in a snowstorm. We're met by Bruce Goodwin, who drove us to Pinawa. And there he did environmental and safety assessments for the high-level waste management program. We were there for 9 years, and before moving to Chalk River, where he was asked to do the same sort of thing, safety assessments for the...
it was the IRIS project.
IRIS project, yes, that's right. The IRIS project, unfortunately, didn't go anywhere. It was finished before they...
It was a waste storage surface level, wasn't it? Or just into the ground?
Yes. Yeah. So it was researched, but it was not pursued.
He was involved with the environmental impact statement. You said something about he did a lot of the translation work.
Yes, that's right, he did. Well, that was at Whiteshell.
Oh, and I know my wife, Catherine, worked with him in quality assurance, which was...
That's right. Yes. He was a quality assurance manager for 6 years. I'm reading this because he did so much. He had so many hats to wear at the labs here. Then he was manager of systems and processes, strategic planning, business operations of the ACL Liability Management Unit. And that was very important. It managed the Federal Nuclear Legacy Liabilities Programme to clean up the waste, the historical waste from Chalk River. Yes. He also represented Canada on the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Authority Planning Group for Radioactive Waste and Management and Decommissioning Activities, and he edited IAEA Nuclear Safety Guides and prepared associated training materials. So he did a lot of things here. Whilst he was here, he held several roles in the Canadian Nuclear Safety Canadian Nuclear Society, including past chair of the Chalk River branch, chair of the Waste Management and Environment Division, and member-at-large on the CNS Council. He chaired the first CNS conference on waste management, decommissioning and environmental restoration in Ottawa in 2005, and assisted in organising the second such conference in 2011. Michael officially retired from ACL in 2011, and during his career at CRL, he worked closely with the Canadian Standards Association and continued to be actively engaged after his retirement until his passing, and that was 3 years ago. He was past chair of the technical committee that developed Canada's nuclear standard, the N294, on decommissioning nuclear facilities, and he was a member of the technical committee on radioactive waste management, so he did a lot there. And in 2016, he received CSA's Award of Merit in recognition of his outstanding efforts on support to support standards development. So he did quite a lot with the CSA. He did many jobs in waste management and decommissioning at Chalk River Laboratories and in the ACL Liability Management Unit. Michael was also involved in many community activities, he was president of several big organisations.
I remember when I came here, I got involved again very much with the Canadian Nuclear Society, and he was our chair at the time, and I actually took over his chair from him a few years later. Of course, he was the one who, back in about 2015, with Jeremy Whitlock and some others, sort of got the first semblance of the group which eventually became, the Society for the Preservation of Canada's Nuclear Heritage. He was there. He in getting that incorporated in 2017, and he led us through. I remember telling him at one point, one day I'm willing to take over as president for you. You know, someday way in the future. You know, I said when you're ready to give it up. And unfortunately, with his death,
yes,
I ended up taking it over earlier. Jim Ungren first for a few minutes, for a few months.
Yes.
Than me, but so here I am. But we always liked his steady, stable sort of progression where we're going. He created some kind of what do you call it? A sort of a document, sort of strategic plan. That was it. Sort of, and it was intended to be a document with sort of where we're going to go with the museum. And unfortunately, we've been so busy with the museum that we haven't paid much attention to it since. But he had these ideas. You know, he was a planner. He wanted to plan where we were going, not just we're a little bit too higgledy-piggledy these days. So.
Yes, yes. No, he was very happy to do that.
Yeah, and at the same time, my last photograph of him was he and I had been polishing the floors in here, cleaning them after years of and he was willing to get right in there.
Yes, he was. Yes,
scrub things down. So, of course, he had great passion for other hobbies. He and I shared this interest in trains.
Yes.
And he especially an interest in Meccano. I didn't realize you could have so much Meccano as he So I always enjoyed visiting his your basement and whatever, and seeing all his displays of various things he collected over the years, sort of models and interesting toys, and plus his railway stuff. It was
and he was an avid reader.
Yes.
And we had a lot of books. And he played hockey all his life.
Yes,
he played hockey, not only in France, but in Pinois and Deep River.
Yeah. He played in France as well.
Oh, yes. Oh. He played with some of the people from the Canadian Embassy. And that was a wonderful group of people. In fact, once a month in the winter, we all used to go somewhere, which was a long way away. It was either Lahr in Germany to play with the Canadian Forces base, or Luxembourg, or Belgium, or all over France. We would take off on a Friday night, get a nice hotel, go to the match in the morning and afternoon, all join together with the French people for a lovely gourmet meal in the evening. And on the Sunday, we would visit all the lovely places, such as the cathedrals and the chateaux, and follow the tour guide route back to Paris. We did that regularly.
Oh, yeah.
And at the same time, in the summer, he had another activity, which was scuba diving.
Right, yes.
When he was in Paris, he decided to take up scuba diving because he was afraid of deep water. So he trained with the Touring Club de France in the north of France, and he became a fully licensed scuba diver. And we went one summer for a month to Sardinia, where he worked on excavation of a Gallo-Romano site, which was just quite close to the shore, off the south coast of Sardinia. So that was very, very interesting. And we went with about 20 other scuba divers from the Touring Club de France. And we often went down to the south of France, to Juin-les-Pins and that area, to dive, and it was just wonderful. So he had a lot of activities. He was the most active person I have ever known. And he used to say that if he wasn't thinking about something or doing something, he would go to sleep. So he had a very, very, very full life, and a very interesting life. And I had a very nice life sharing it with him.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. We still miss Michael. I'm sure you do too.
Yes, we do.
So.
But we have a lot of happy memories, don't we, Alex?
Sure do.
Yeah.
Yes, I've had a wonderful life. I can say that. Very interesting in the nuclear industry, even with my own agenda, and I've enjoyed it all. It's been great.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for talking with me this morning.
Thank you very
Barbara.
much, Morgan, for inviting me. I have very much enjoyed talking to you.
Good.
Thank you.
And thank you to
And
our crew.
good luck.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, good luck. Yeah, we
You're welcome.
Good.
And thank you, Alex.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure. It was a joy to see you, sir.